The following is a presentation of the Healthcare Facilities Network.
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of my discussion with Steve Carberry, titled From the Engine Room to Facilities and Construction System Vice President. This is episode 2. And in this episode, interesting conversation. It continues. Steve talks about some of the keys to success to working in a large medical center environment. Steve talks about how to overcome fear and continue to lead and continue to come up with fresh ideas for organization. Talk a little bit about the decarbonization that's coming up. So it's a continuation of a really good discussion. I would put in a word to watch episode 1. First 19 to 20 minutes. Steve is a proud graduate of SUNY Maritime, and we talk a lot about his career in the maritime, on the open ocean. And I think that, as I was listening to Steve talk, his career can be instructive for college students today. I know, for example, my youngest son is a junior in high school. He's talking about college, what he wants to do, where he wants to go. And I'm going to ask him to listen to that first 18 to 20 minutes with Steve. Now, I don't know if he will, but I'm going to ask him to, because I think you listen to somebody talk like Steve did, talking about his career evolution. And I think what it does is it opens up a world of possibilities that kids these days, even for all they know and all they're aware of that they see on TikTok and social media and here, there, and everywhere else. I think he opens up a door into a world that college students may not know exists. And he opens up a door into a world that shows a transition from, going to school to work on ships and work in the open ocean into healthcare facilities management. So I think it is especially the first episode is first 18 to 20 minutes of that first episode is a terrific career lesson. And it's one that if somebody in high school is listening to it or somebody in college is listening to it, they say, hey, you know what? That's something I may want to look at. So, because you've heard me say it often enough, I hope you've heard me say it often enough because you have watched some of these shows, that the goal of the Healthcare Facilities Network is to increase the pipeline into healthcare facilities management. And this is a way to help increase that pipeline. Maritime graduates such as Steve have had great success in healthcare facilities management. So I'll jump off my soapbox. If you haven't watched episode 1, watch it. It's very good. And again, I think if you have a younger kid, a younger child, if you're a college student, watch the first 18 minutes. Listen to what Steve's path took him on and see some of the possibilities that are out there. So with that, I am going to transition over to episode 2 of me and Steve. We pick up exactly where we left off. So we left off in episode 1. Steve was talking. We pick up in episode 2. I am asking a question. So, as always, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and let's transition. How did you, Steve, and I was going to ask you kind of at the very end, but you mentioned working in a academic medical center and some of the benefits of that. You worked for a long time in an academic medical center. What are some of the practices? How do you survive? And it's a very competitive environment. What are some, tips, tricks that you would offer to folks who are maybe considering kind of that academic medical center? How'd you survive all those years?
So it's very interesting. When I was at Greenwich and I had an executive coach down there, and he said, boy, you think you're busy now. This is right when I was making the transition. He was sort of prepping me. He goes, you think you're in 4th gear right now and you're moving pretty quickly. He goes, I got news for you. It's an 8-speed transmission and you're about to move into 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th gear. And I kind of looked at him. I was like, man, I'm pretty busy now. I don't think I could be much busier. But yeah, you find that within you to move at a higher pace.
Mm-hmm.
You have to prioritize what's important and what you need to be working on and delegate what you don't need to be working on and rely on your folks to do it. So that's probably one of the most important things. And I think, some of my folks struggled with that delegation
Yeah.
of, you don't need to be doing that. You need to have your folks do it. And they were like, oh yeah, yeah. I said, it's, hard to, move in that direction. I had some, other executives say, you're great at fighting fires. You're the guy who shows up. You've got to be more strategic. And so I had to change the way I thought, and I had to continue to step back and delegate, but then think about stuff strategically, to help the organization move forward. And so that's important. And then how do you think strategically? Well, then you have to spend time meeting with the right folks that have that vision and, say, okay, where do you want to go and what do I need to do to get you there? And I had some executives that were really visionary thinkers, and would come and say, listen, I got a bed problem, you got to help me solve that. And then, well, is that building more beds, or is that, do we need to change other things to get improved throughput? And so, you start to say, okay, let's bring in some folks that will help us with throughput, and learn in that direction. Your CFO chat the other day, understand the business model, where do you make money in the organization? Where do you not make money in the organization? Where do you spend $1 of very scarce capital?
Yeah.
And I had a lot of conversations with our CFOs and our senior VPs of finance about making that prioritization, because there's never enough money to solve all your problems.
This is Peter Martin. If you or your organization is interested in advertising or partnering with the Healthcare Facilities Network, including sponsoring content, then please email me using the barcode in the lower right of your screen. From the trades level to the vice president level, from planning, design, construction, project management, compliance, safety, and security, the Healthcare Facilities Network reaches FM people where FM people are.
And so, you've got to develop a way to think through and prioritize capital. And, when you're running 12 million square feet, there's a lot of ask. So, now you what got you here is not going to get you there. So we had to rethink how we prioritize capital and develop a system to do that, which was a grading matrix to say what rose to the top, and where would you spend your money if that's all you had. And, that was a sea change for everybody to learn. So, you continually had to evolve.
Yeah.
I always said, I learned something new every day on the job. There wasn't a day that I, didn't go through that something, was an aha moment. And, that's saying a lot,
Right.
You never stop learning. You never stop learning. If you think you know it all, forget it. Nobody knows it all.
How do you, never thought about this before, but you mentioned, so you're at the VP level, how do you continue to evolve and push forward? Do you ever have a little bit of doubt, and you're the guy, so you're moving them forward? How do you continue to push forward, evolve, and learn and navigate away from fear, doubt, uncertainty?
Go out and steal ideas.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, when I left, one of the things I told people, get outside the four walls of the organization and go learn. I early on, I said, go to ASHI, go to PDC, go to a conference, go to, New England Healthcare's engineers, and meet with people, and, the great ideas are out there. And, there's a couple of conferences that I continue to go to. The Healthcare Design Conference down, it'll be in New Orleans this year, in November. Probably one of the best conferences I've ever gone to. Through going to that conference, I joined the Center for Healthcare Design and the Built Environment Network. I got to be in a room with other facilities VPs and senior VPs from some of the largest healthcare systems in the country: Kaiser Permanente, Metro Health, University of Wisconsin, Ascension, MedXL, I mean, these are all the first round draft picks. And, I'm there representing Yale New Haven. So, not too much of a slouch.
Right.
But we talked a lot about the similar challenges we all had. We also had some very great um, uh, corporate sponsors that were part of the group. Mazzetti Engineering out of the West Coast, really thought leaders in healthcare engineering. I mean, Walt Vernon. You're in the room with Walt Vernon.
Yep.
Get your pen and paper out because
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of ideas flying your way. Doug Erickson from FGI was part of our group. And so, being exposed to folks like that really helped keep me fresh, getting new ideas. And then my job is to bring that back
Yeah.
and bring it to our organization. And that's what you have to do. If you think you're going to sit in your chair and read a magazine and come up with all the ideas, yeah, that's great. But, getting out and touring other facilities, see what they're building, see what they're designing, what's the new idea that they got.
Mhm.
I always said if I went to those conferences and I came away with one aha moment, it was worth it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yep.
expensive to go, but it's cheaper than college tuition.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
very true. Very true. So I want to go back to one of the comments that you had made on our on the survey that we had done, and this is relative to the emissions, and health systems should set targets to reduce their emissions by half by 2030 compared with the baseline from 2008, and to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. On our survey, which, as I said, you responded to, 76% of respondents said that they are concerned, very concerned about meeting the 2030 date. We obviously didn't even ask about 2050 because that's, yeah.
Right.
But so aside from the political factors that are in play with decarbonization, you wrote, because we're not concerned with that here, but you wrote, electric is not the answer. There's not enough electric service capability to do this on a large scale. If natural gas is no longer involved, then a substitute fuel such as hydrogen needs to be commercially viable quickly and cost effectively. It's a lot, Steve. How do you see this? And now that you're out of that seat at Yale New Haven and you're into your own consulting firm, you're still vested. How do you see this playing out by 2030? That's 6 years away. That's not far.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. Everybody says, okay, you're going to stop, burning stuff. New York City, no more natural gas permits being, issued, even for healthcare. So I'm very concerned about, the practical side, the engineering side of this. My mind immediately goes to that, and I look at the size of some of the air handlers we have on the roofs of these buildings, and these are 30, 50, 100,000 CFM air handlers. We're moving a lot of air, okay? And steam is what heats it. That's a high BTU transfer there. That's a lot of air moving through there. If you're going to come in and go, okay, I don't have steam, so I don't have natural gas or tool oil to burn. What do I do? Because an electric toaster in that air handler is not going to get it done. And there is not enough incoming power into that facility today, never mind, 7 years from now. And there isn't enough power in the street, in the town, in the city, in the county, in the state to do that. Okay. So it's great to say, oh, you're going to convert to electric, but how do you do it? It's the same thing with electric charging vehicles. If everybody owned an electric vehicle, we don't have enough power to charge them right now.
Right.
So, we really have to think about the infrastructure that is needed to make this vision happen. So, I looked at it and I was like, well, listen, if I could burn hydrogen in the existing boilers I have, I could generate enough steam to meet that, and it would truly be zero emission. So, in my mind, and I've talked to a lot of engineers or design engineers around the country, that's probably going to be one of the solutions. I mean, hydrogen's non-economical today, but we need to mass produce it and come up with a way to make green hydrogen and get that to these facilities. And it may be a new storage tank I have to buy. Okay, that's fine. Still have to have something backing that up.
Yeah.
And so, until we figure all of that, we made a lot of investments in um, fuel cells. We have fuel cells installed out at Lawrence Memorial Hospital, Park Ave Medical Center, and Milford Hospital, with designs for Bridgeport Hospital on the ways. And that's great to power the facility, but it's still not heating the facility.
Yeah.
And so, we'll partially meet those goals by doing that. But and I've challenged, our dean of engineering at, my college to say, you better be figuring out how to just start doing some research on this, because it's going to come up pretty quick and everybody's thinking about it. But, we really need to accelerate that thinking and that supply line to help us in the future.
What do you think? And perhaps this is an unfair question, but what is a realistic time frame if you're going to do it correctly?
Well, I think any great idea takes at least 10 years to, go from, theory to, the truck pulling up, unloading hydrogen at my hydrogen tank. I think we could do it, but I think it's got to be a priority. We got too many other challenges in this country. We've got crumbling infrastructure. We've got all sorts of, the country has got the same capital problems we have in hospitals. A lot of problems, not enough money going around to fix them all. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's obviously an issue. You're just talking about, think of a director or VP of facilities with everything they have on. This is a full-time job without that other stuff. Now you put that on top of the plate, something's gonna, it's impossible. You can't keep them all in the air.
And on the the CFO side, we have a mandate now to go carbonless. Our rates aren't going up to reflect that. Nobody's giving us more money to go do that.
Right.
Now, you can probably go out and get some grant money to do it, but it's not going to fund it 100%. There's no way.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. And where do I put my scarce time and resources into managing my capital plan that I have, or filling out grant applications? It was like, we don't have the expertise in that. We might maybe in the development office and folks we could pull in, but that was always a challenge. And then the money's not really free. At the end of the day, what you have to go through to prove that you spent it correctly, and the audits, and before you get the check is can be challenging.
Right. So now you are the president of Carbery Facility Solutions. What are you doing? What are you involved with? We've talked about all these issues that are on the plate, right? And everything you've done throughout your career. What's Carbery Facility Solutions?
Well, we're trying to get the plane off the ground. We're having a lot of conversations about some high level strategic planning, helping other organizations that may not have done big projects, maybe have a, lack of talent, maybe need some help and guidance. So we're talking to, some other consulting firms that have seen this and need to bring somebody in from the owner's side that can speak CFO and COO and CEO, to help with those, strategic conversations. So that's what I've been working on. That's my desire. Having that conversation with a few folks, and as we said, we got to get the plane off the ground though. So it's only been a couple of months, and that takes a while to get going. But I'm very excited about the ability to help share what I've gained over 37 years. Organizational development. A lot of folks out there still haven't leveraged the possibilities of creating a corporate facilities group and all the advantages that come with that. From contracting to purchasing power to setting design standards, to look to save money. How to digitally optimize the department so that you can actually demonstrate that you're saving money by giving money back to the capital committee. You've got to be able to track your projects in such a way that you know what your spend is and what you have available to give back. And I learned an awful lot, making the investment in some of these, software systems, pays dividends within the first year. The payback is extremely short, but
Yeah.
you've got to put the time in to make sure they're up and running. And same thing with maintenance management systems and making sure that they're easy to get to. And we installed a system that was like using Amazon. You put your work order in, you got a receipt to say it was accepted. When it was assigned to a mechanic, you got another receipt that said it's been assigned to so and so. And when your job was complete, you got another email that said your job's now complete.
Wow.
And then you got a satisfaction survey at the end.
Wow. That's pretty
And
good.
and we were in the high 90s the
Yeah.
entire time since we've installed it to say this works great.
Yep.
And I said, I want to have an Amazon-like experience for, hospital maintenance on the corrective maintenance side.
Yep.
And obviously did the same thing on the preventative maintenance side.
You had mentioned, and I didn't bring it up only because it's a completely different topic area, and I kind of wrote it for the something in the future. But I was you were talking about, I think you phrased it, bringing you out of the dark ages and kind of into the data ages. And I know we have mutual friend Jim Hogle from Barnabas who spoke well of the program that you guys developed at Yale New Haven. Can you talk about, we don't have a ton of time left, and I do want to ask you one last question, but can you talk about a little bit, Steve, kind of the data angle and using information to make informed decisions? And I know you could go on and on, but how long did it take, and what's that process like?
So, that story goes back to when I was saying, attending conferences.
Yep.
And I met Jordan Cram from Instoa at a conference, and he was talking way over my head about installing these data systems at hospital. And I knew he had been down at New York Presbyterian. I brought him up to Yale. I said, here's what I have today. I have nothing. Let's put together a program where, we can track capital projects better. We can put in I had 7 different maintenance management programs across, the healthcare system.
Yeah.
All antiquated, none of them updated. And when we looked at them, they go, well, these were never installed right in the first place. So I'm like, okay, well, scrap them all. Let's start from ground zero.
How long ago was this, Steve?
So this is back in 2016. We started the analysis. We got it funded in 2018.
Okay.
It took a while, a few of those fiscal cycles to get it funded correctly. It was about a $6 million investment in software, time, and resources, but it paid for itself very quickly. The first year full year we were tracking capital projects. I think we gave back $8 million in latent capital. And when I started this project, I didn't know what latent capital was. Well, it was unspent capital locked in projects that never went back to be redeployed for other uses. So what we would call quick hitters at the end of the year.
So the 8 million was sitting out there for wow.
And that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
That, project manager's hanging on to his contingency. You may have $1 million contingency, in a $50 million project, and he's toward the end, but he's still hanging on. I'm like, I'll let you hang on to 100,000, but
everybody
you
likes
me
to
back.
hang on.
Yeah, you can have some, but
Right.
but I want the 900,000 back. And
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh, okay, I could live with that. But I had a dashboard that I could see who was hanging on to what. And so, that was really one of the big aha moments.
Yeah.
But then, we did it on the maintenance side, and where we really, got into it was when we digitized every building in Revit and CAD by scanning them and coming up with accurate floor plans, building plans in 3D, and tagging who was using what. So now, I used to get asked all the time, how many ADA patient bathrooms do we have? I'd be like, I have no clue. But now I can have somebody go do that research, and we'll come back with the answer in an hour and run that query. How many exam rooms do I have? And so, and the real scary part for us was when we started the interview process on space. we interviewed departments, and I go, how many of you are using space data to run your business? And we had 44 departments come back and go, I'm using space data that I got from my boss 20 years ago. And I go, that can't be accurate.
Right.
He goes, but that's what I have, and I have no way to get anything better. And I said, well, if we don't give it to you, who will? And so we started this journey and put those queries in for them, that now they, it's just about automated. They can go in and look at their floor plans and pull those reports, because everything is tied to a database, and
Wow.
they can generate it.
Yeah.
And so and then disaster recovery, emergency preparedness, they couldn't believe the capabilities that they inherited. And the safety and security guys, they were like, hey, if we ever have an active shooter situation and we can go online and show the police and the SWAT team what the building actually looks like and what's where, that's invaluable. And so
Yeah.
that, my hair still stands up when I think about that, because I was like, what were we going to do? Pull a roll of drawings out on the sidewalk for them?
Right. Right. Well,
Now we can show it to them on an iPad and Bluebeam.
well, it was funny, and not funny like like they say in Goodfellas, not funny in an aha way. Was when you were talking about it, I was thinking of an active shooter, and you're trying to find plans, and nobody knows where they are. Where are they? And then you might pull it out, but it's from a set that was 20 years ago, and nobody's got
50
that.
years ago.
Yeah, 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like that. That was what the
No.
architect thought it looked like back then. So, that's, how do you live without that? You need,
Exactly.
that's employee safety right there, patient safety.
So I imagine this experience is all part and parcel with Carbery Facility Solutions that you're looking to get up and off the ground and offer to organizations, because certainly that type of an expertise doesn't exist everywhere.
Yeah. So, like I said, I want to share and give back. I'm not, everybody says you're retired. I go, no, I'm on sabbatical. I'm just looking right the next chapter in the book. I've had a long career of giving back. I volunteer a lot, probably too much, my wife says. But I enjoy that, and I think this is the opportunity that I can go. I'm not going to volunteer at this though, so I still want to make a bit of a living.
Yeah, we got to make that. You're not volunteering your services.
But I think, having spoken to quite a few folks, there's still a need for this. And, I'm certainly not unique in this position, but, certainly have, my experience to bring to the table. And I think we can help some folks. And it sounds like there's a need out there. So we just got to bring it together.
Yeah, I think that's only going to increase. If one final question from, I guess, Steve Carberry. And Steve, it's kind of along those lines. You haven't retired, but now that you've stepped away from the day-to-day for a large organization, academic mechanical center, have you decompressed, and have you come to any realization? Has anything kind of surprised you as you've stepped away from the day-to-day of a busy academic medical center?
I think, the first realization, when you stop working and, all of a sudden, emails are down 95%. My calendar opened up 95% and availability. You realize how fast you're running. That was definitely an aha moment for me to, step back and go, I was running pretty hard and fast there for a while. And I, started to feel the fraying around the edges. And, I was very much aware, because we talk about stress and we talk about burnout, and you start to say, well, am I approaching that? And I was going to be I was a grandfather on September 11th. My daughter had her first grandchild. I was very much aware that I wanted to be in the moment for that event, and I was. But you really do take perspective and go, okay, I think I've given enough here at the office, and time to step away. And I think everybody should really, really be aware of that, because it's a tough time in healthcare. I'll be honest with you, it was a lot easier to be in healthcare when we were making a lot of money and we were able to do a lot of stuff. It's a pressure cooker right now, and everybody needs to be very much aware of their surroundings and what's going on. And as positions don't get filled or can't get filled, people are taking on more and more and more. And we came out of COVID. Everybody was drop everything and shift gears and move into a different world. That stopped. Now we come back out and, we're in these very tough financial times. And, so you've gone from one major life-changing crisis.
Yeah.
Let's not underestimate what we went through.
Yeah.
To now a very severe financial difficulty. And so, you can't run the engine in the red line forever. So, and I don't know what the answer is. The CEOs, COOs, CFOs, they've got a tough task in front of them.
Yeah.
And the answers aren't there. There's very few levers they can move to solve the problem. I mean, you think about, contracts with insurers, contracts with the government, they're not going to pay you more. And so rising costs for operating expenses, goods and services, salaries. What other levers do you have to solve that and balance that equation, right?
Right.
Income, expense have to balance.
Yep.
So they don't have a lot of levers left to pull. And I think that's really the challenge. And it just creates this pressure cooker that everybody just needs to be aware of, and keep your head straight and, take some time off when you need it.
That's great. That's great advice. Great advice.
Yeah.
Steve Carbery, Carbery Facilities Solutions. Thank you so much for appearing. I appreciate your time. Great conversation, and good luck in getting that up and off the ground.
Thank you, Peter.
Is there, or I can put it into the description, if folks want to reach out to you, is there a mechanism to do so?
Yep. There's I have an email set up for the company. It's Stephen.Carbery at carberyfsllc.com.
Nice. And I will put that into the description as well. Steve, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
Peter, great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you. This is Peter Martin for the Healthcare Facilities Network. As always, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back.